Hello and welcome to my kitchen. I'm Judith. It's the new year and I know we've all feasted and probably overeaten a little bit maybe, but I thought I would like to do something I haven't had for a long time. Something that has kind of fallen out of favor, although you can still find it here and there. So let me give you a little history here. Lobster, which on the East Coast, for years and years and years, was considered a poor man's seafood because they had so much of it. But in the late 1800s, it sort of became a little bit of a trend to do surf and turf. Of course, turf is the beef. And up until the 1920s, it was served in restaurants aimed at new arrivals and the nouveau riche. It was basically a fad. And then it fell out of favor and came back in the 1960s. 1960s, 70s, 80s. And I remember it from the early 70s when I was young, 20-ish. I'm not trying to give away my age here, but I think I just did. And for a fancy dinner, we would go out for steak and lobster. And at least one restaurant I worked in, it was actually a Chinese restaurant, had steak and lobster on the menu. Although often it was a full lobster, not just the tail. But I seriously wanted to do a flashback to steak and lobster because it's still good, even if it's out of fashion. So let's get started. First thing I want to do is cut my butter because I do want some of it still cold to put on top of the lobster tail. So we'll cut a couple of slices off. We're going to put the rest, and it is about 1/4 cup, into the pan because lobster is traditionally served with drawn butter, which is what we're going to do. We're just going to melt that, let it settle out so you don't have the milk solids in it, and all you've got is the butter, the beautiful liquid butter, maybe a little bit of lemon juice in it, maybe some parsley. We'll see when we get there. And just a little hint, if you're doing steaks, get them out of the fridge at least an hour before you want to cook them. And never, never, never cook your meat from frozen. So we have these out. We're going to leave them here and let them warm a little bit. Your lobster tails, if you bought them frozen, make sure you thaw them out. If you need them thawed quickly, put them in a plastic bag, or hopefully the container they came in, the wrapping they came in, is waterproof, and put them in a sink of cold water. An hour and a half or so, and they should be thawed out. These, still a little crunchy maybe, but not too bad. They will be thawed in plenty of time. They're still a little icy on the underside. Our next issue is what kind of spice. So you do want to spice your lobster a little bit, not overly. You do want some seasoning on it. So I have some smoked paprika, white pepper, garlic powder, and sea salt. And these we are going to sprinkle on the lobster and possibly on the steak. Okay, to get our lobsters ready for the oven, once they're thawed out, what we need to do is cut the shell. You see that? Just down the middle of the shell with a good pair of sharp scissors, all the way down to the tail. Don't cut into the meat. Trying to get in there under the shell, but not inside in the meat. Seems to be. There we go. Let's see. There we go. I think we got it. Now this is going to be the typical presentation that you would have seen in the 70s and 80s. There we go. Okay, now we've done that. Let's just get them off of that thing. We're going to open the shell up. And we need to free the lobster meat from the shell. So just run your fingers in there without breaking the shell apart. All the way down. And underneath, trying to keep the shell intact, and pull them up and place them on top. Now some recipes will tell you to put some lemon wedges underneath to keep the meat up, but if you do it right, you don't need to do that. And you do already have it. It's nice and split, so you can make sure that it's been deveined. Let's do again with this one. Now, the shell is stiff, and you're trying not to break it apart too badly, but you need to get it to move so you can get your fingers in there and pull the lobster meat away from the shell. I've got that side. Oopsie, broke that one a little bit. Ow. Okay, and I'm going to get underneath. Well, the shell does want to clamp back down, so it is kind of fighting with a clamp that wants to bite you. Once you get the meat up, you can fold that shell back under and put the meat on top, like so. Now we got a few pieces of shell, not playing nice. But that's okay, we did break that one a little bit. So there we have 2 lobster tails out of their shell. And we're going to put them, just move that out of the way, put them into an oven-proof dish. And remember that spice mix we had? Now we're going to mix it all together. And we're going to sprinkle our lobster tails. We're not going to use all of it. I'm just going to rub it on. There we go. And then that butter that we cut, we're going to put in small pieces on top of our lobster tail. So we're not using all of that butter, we're just like so. And these will go under the broiler for about 10 minutes in the middle of the oven. You don't want them too close to the heat. And keep an eye on them. But once they're nice and opaque and pink, they'll be ready. A quarter-pound of butter that we put to melt has melted, and it does have the milk solids in it, so we are going to strain it through a very fine strainer. You could add some herbs, lemon juice to that. I think we'll add a little bit of lemon juice. Okay, freshly squeezed lemon juice is best, but lemons are so expensive right now. And the one I had in the fridge did not survive. So there we go, just a little bit of lemon juice in there. That was about maybe a teaspoon. So you want to preheat your grill. I'm using an iron grill pan on the stove because obviously it's January and I'm not going outside to put it on the barbecue. And you want to preheat your broiler for the lobster. So the lobster's going to take 8 to 10 minutes. Your steaks will probably take, depending on what you've got. I've got small ones, 5 to 6 minutes. But you want them to rest before you serve. So I'm putting the steaks on first. And we do have some of that seasoning that we put on the lobster. I'm going to sprinkle some on the steak just very lightly. And I'm going to put the lobster, which is in my pan, waiting to go in the oven under the broiler. Make sure they're upright. Make sure they're upright and happy and the butter's on them and they're going in the oven. And I'm going to actually set the timer for 7 minutes just to make sure I don't overcook them. You don't want to overcook your lobster. I do have a little bit of extra butter, which I will be putting on the steaks after I turn them. Okay, once you turn your steaks over, top them with the butter. And check on your lobster tail. Not quite. So once your lobster is well and truly pink and lovely, and the meat is opaque, it's time for dinner. That's my throwback dinner. Surf and turf. The only thing it's missing is the gigantic baked potato with sour cream, chives, and bacon bits. And escargot to start. Ooh, one of these days I have to do that. I hope you enjoyed the video. Whether or not you try the recipe, at least please give it a like. Hit the subscribe button. Hit that bell icon so you get notified when I put up more. Share my videos so more people can see them and my channel will advance. I am getting there. Still a little short of the 100 that I was hoping for. But wow, some of the views are amazing. Love you all for watching, and I'll see you again soon.